Hello everybody, it's Jo. Welcome back to my channel. And welcome back to Freaky Fall. Spooky time, woo! I know this video is coming later in the week than I usually post. Sorry about that, I was a little sick and just not feeling myself. So, waited a little bit, but I'm back. Better late than never, right? That's how the saying goes. So excited we hit over 120 subscribers. We're almost at 130, which is just wild. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for subscribing to this channel, for liking my videos, for all your lovely comments and your messages on Instagram. It really means so much to me. When I started doing this, I really didn't expect for anyone to really watch. It was more just like for myself to do something creative and fun. But so many of you have responded so positively. I think we have well over like 1,200 views on my true crime videos alone, which is just like, wow, that's exciting. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I'm really excited to see where the channel goes. If you have not already subscribed, definitely subscribe down below. We have well over 1,000 views and videos. So, you know, if you're watching this, hit the subscribe button. Maybe we can get to 1,000 subscribers. That would be a huge goal. That would be like an enormous goal. If we got there, I'd do something crazy. I might shave my head. I shouldn't promise that, because I will do it. That's the thing, I would shave my head. If you did not see last week's video, definitely go give that a watch. It's gonna be up in this corner. We started off Freaky Fall with skinwalkers, and then last week we dived into America's first serial killer. It's quite the wild ride. This guy was swindling people, scamming people, killing people, and building murder mansions, so it's a lot. Definitely go give that a watch if you have not already, and I will leave a link down below to the Freaky Fall playlist so you can see all the other Freaky Fall videos. This week we're gonna stay on track with the serial killers. I really wanted to talk about this guy because the whole idea really freaks me out. I'm gonna be honest. This week we're gonna talk about a sensitive topic that it's gonna deal a lot with like the medical system and stuff like that, so if that's not really your thing, thinking about doctors and hospitals and stuff like that, this may not be the video for you. As always, viewer discretion is advised, so if you are not into gore, murder, talking about death, this may not be the video or probably the channel for you. But without further ado, let's get into the story of the Angel of Death. So, hospitals. We've probably all been to one at some point. I mean, when you were born, you probably were in one, so even if you haven't been since, you've been there at least one time. Hospitals are one of those places where you either feel totally at peace because you're in the hands of someone who is going to take care of you, or you feel really weird and uneasy. I'm probably more on this side of the spectrum. If you don't know, I have a chronic illness and I've spent a lot of time admitted into the hospital. And you know, when you're in the hospital, you're just trusting that the people that are taking care of you, they know what they're doing, you know? You're there because they know how to treat you with whatever you've got going on, and you just trust that they know best. But what happens when the doctor who's supposed to take care of you isn't necessarily there to take care of you, they're there to take care of you, if you know what I'm saying. I read an interesting statistic that 1 in every 30 people is a sociopath. So if that's true, at least one nurse or doctor that you've interacted with has had to be a sociopath. Maybe that lack of emotion and empathy kind of is helpful for them because they can go about their business and not let their feelings get in the way. Or is it, you know, kind of detrimental? Does it cause for them to do things that, you know, show a complete lack of empathy? And that's what we're going to talk about today. If you've never heard of an Angel of Death, essentially what they are is a person who's supposed to protect someone, who's supposed to be a guardian angel of sorts. So a healthcare worker or a police officer, EMT, firefighter, that type of person. But what they actually do is take life. They snuff out life because they have empathy for people who are in pain. We're gonna dive into all of that. That's a lot to unpack. Today we're gonna talk about the person who holds the original title of Angel of Death, and that man's name is Donald Harvey. Donald Harvey was born in Butler County, Ohio, around Cincinnati in 1952. An interesting thing about Donald that you wouldn't expect in one of these cases is he actually dropped out of school in the 9th grade, so he was about I think like 14, 15 years old when he dropped out of high school. He actually started working in the healthcare system when he was 18 years old, which I just found that whole series of events to be strange. I know that At this point, it would have been the late 60s, but for a high school dropout to start working in like the healthcare industry seems a little strange to me. I'm not saying high school dropouts aren't smart. They very well are, but it seems like you'd need like college education to be working in the healthcare system, even if you're just an orderly. I don't know, I could be totally wrong. His first medical job was as an orderly at Marymount Hospital in Kentucky, and Donald Harvey did not waste any time. He worked at this hospital for 10 months, and in those 10 months, he carried out the executions of over a dozen people. Yeah, an 18-year-old in 10 months killed over a dozen people. I don't know much about his childhood, but like, that's a lot going on, you know what I mean? Donald Harvey was mostly around cardiac patients, so people, you know, who would come in because they have like a stroke or a heart attack or congestive heart failure or something like that. This one really freaks me out because I had a congestive heart failure, so I'm like, I don't know why, it just gives me the willies that like a nurse or orderly that worked in a wing like the one I stayed in would be having murderous tendencies. Yikes. Donald mostly killed with an injection or putting pills in their food of cyanide or arsenic, but those were not the only ways that he murdered people. He would unplug people's ventilators. He would mix together miscellaneous poisons and inject those. He had suffocated people. He even administered a fluid that was tainted with hepatitis into people's veins. Like, he gave people hepatitis in order to kill them, which just seems so painful and cruel. Probably the most disturbing way that he killed someone, not that these other things aren't disturbing, but he actually inserted a coat hanger into someone's catheter and punctured their abdomen and killed them. It's just like, I literally, like, what? How did no one catch that? Throughout all this time, Donald claims that he really felt like he was doing the right thing by these people. He believed that they were all terminally ill and they were going to die horrible, painful deaths, so that he was doing them a favor by taking them out so that they wouldn't have to feel any pain. But all of these deaths seem like they would be horrible and painful, so I'm not really tracking with you there, Donald. So a majority of Harvey's crimes took place in that first hospital, Marymount, but he also carried out a series of murders at Drake Memorial Hospital in Cincinnati. Now, this may seem pretty straightforward, okay? So he was an orderly and he was killing people in his workplace that he felt were too sick and needed someone to have mercy on them. And that might be what Donald would like you to believe, but what he won't say is that he actually killed people outside of the hospital. Harvey lived with a man named Carl, and they were in love. He was boyfriends with Carl. And when Donald believed that Carl was cheating on him, he poisoned him so that he could not leave the apartment. He also killed Carl's father and poisoned two of his neighbors, one of which got super sick. The other one actually unfortunately passed away. Even with all of these people in the hospitals suddenly dying and, you know, his boyfriend's dad and his two neighbors getting really sick and dying, no one suspected a thing. Harvey actually got away with his crimes for 17 years. There were no open investigations during that entire time. Like, no one even suspected anything. That was until March of 1987, when John Powell, who had been on life support for a really long time after a motorcycle accident, actually revealed that he had high levels of cyanide in his system. The police weren't really sure who had administered this to him. I'm imagining that at this time, there probably weren't the best records ever kept. So Harvey was actually fired from Cincinnati Hospital because he was stealing body parts to perform rituals with them. You know, he made a big mistake there. So as the police are digging through all the records, they obviously see that Harvey had been fired because of the body parts for the occult rituals, you know, casual stuff. And like I mentioned at the beginning of this whole story, they didn't necessarily vet orderlies and techs as well as they do now. So being a high school dropout who's stealing body parts for occult rituals, you know, police were pretty sure they got their man right away. And after 17 years of his reign of terror, the police brought him in and he pretty much confessed right away. Now, reporter Pat Menarkin, who was reporting on this story, found it really hard to believe that this was the only murder that Harvey had committed. I mean, think about it. Harvey had been a tech or orderly for 17 years, and this was he just decided to kill this one guy, you know what I mean? He did some digging and asked some off-the-record questions and found out that a lot of other people that worked at the hospital had been reporting an increase in the amount of patients that had worked there and had raised concerns about Harvey. The administrators at the hospital pretty much ignored it and told the people reporting this increase to keep quiet because they didn't want people to be freaked out or think that the hospital wasn't safe, which is so frustrating because it could have all probably been, stopped right then and there if the administrators had taken this seriously. But because they looked the other way, 87 people lost their lives. The official body count is somewhere between 37 and 57, I believe, but Donald Harvey has confessed to 87 murders. That's 87 people whose families lost them, who could have recovered if these administrators would have just taken these reports seriously. I mean, if one person comes to you, I guess that's one thing, but if a lot of different people who work at the hospital are saying something isn't right, why would you look the other way? Now, this reporter would become vital to the prosecution, who did not want Harvey to get away with this. So they asked for this reporter's help because, he was right on, he was dead on. And Pat spent months diving into all these suspicious deaths at the hospital. He did a special report that connected Donald Harvey to at least 24 deaths at that time, and the prosecutors were like over the moon. Now, Donald Harvey was smart. He actually positioned himself to be working in a place where a lot of the patients didn't survive, so nobody would really notice if a few extra people didn't make it. Now, Donald Harvey's lawyer, Bill, immediately asked him, as soon as he'd been briefed about the case, "Did you kill anyone else?" Harvey looked at him and said by his estimate, he had killed over 70 people at least. So Bill Whalen, his defense attorney, was really freaked out at this point because if he could be linked to even more than one murder, they could definitely try him for the death penalty. I feel like a lot of the times in cases like this, what the defense attorneys are mostly doing when it's like basically proven beyond a shadow of a doubt and there's a confession already, is they're just gonna try to get you the best sentence possible. At this point, he knows they're gonna go for the death penalty, but maybe I can at least just get him life in prison and kind of meet somewhere in the middle. At this point, the prosecutors were gonna bring 24 different murders against him. Like, there was no way a jury wasn't going to give him the death penalty. So they made a deal, and in exchange for his confession, pleading guilty to all 24 murders that they had for sure on paper against him, he would be exempt from the death penalty and would instead just be given life in prison. So Donald Harvey was sentenced to 28 consecutive life sentences. So that man is never getting out of prison. He formally pleaded guilty to 24 murders, but he has confessed to 87. I think at this point, like, the official count is a little over 50, but honestly, I don't think we'll ever know the true scope of how many lives he was able to take. And we'll for sure never know, because on March 30th of 2017, Donald Harvey was found beaten to death in his jail cell. I think one of the most unfortunate things about this case, and we've talked about this before in the past, is just a complete lack of background checks, looking into someone's history and the things that they are doing on a personal level. I think a lot of this was completely preventable. I also think that if you are, high up in administration at a hospital or police department or anywhere, if someone comes to you and has concerns about someone's behavior, take it seriously. I always say, if you see something, say something. But the other half of that is listening and believing people when they come to you with something concerning, at least looking into it. I think if the administrators of this hospital would have looked into these allegations right away, many of these people's lives could have been saved. Many of these people could have survived what they had been through and could have walked away from that hospital. And he really thought that he was, just doing this service to people. He claimed and was adamant that he was just exercising empathy and helping these people through a hard time. He later admitted that some of these people he killed just because he didn't like them, because he was angry at them. I think that this is not empathy at all. I think he's a sadistic person, and I think he's a sociopath. I think that he has no capability of empathy. When you go into the hospital, when you go to see your doctor, you trust them. You expect that what they're doing is to make you better, not to make you worse. I think that cases like this are especially creepy because it's, carried out at the hands of someone who is supposed to be caring for you. Donald Harvey was supposed to be helping his patients, and he claims that he helped them by killing them. It's really disturbing and definitely is gonna, make me a little bit more on edge the next time I'm admitted to a hospital, I think. And that's all I have for this one. There are so many other Angel of Death stories, and I will probably cover more of them at some point, but I think I'm good on them for right now. These ones really freak me out a lot. What other serial killers or conspiracy theories or cryptids or aliens or whatever, what other video topics do you want to see? Is there a missing person or a case that you are really invested in? If so, leave a comment down below. I'd be happy to research and do a video on that. I love to do videos about suggestions that I get from you guys. So if you have any suggestions, definitely let me know in the comments, or you can DM me on any of my social medias. The links are in the description. As always, I hope you guys are having a swell day, and I will see you in the next one. Be safe.